Hello all teachers. This clip is still a matter of law. We're in Module 1, the matter of changing the world and social context, and the concept of sufficiency economy philosophy in terms of changes in the world and social context. As we know that we talked about in the introduction of the module, there will be a section about the changes in the context of the social world are divided into 4 parts. The first part or subpart of part 1 is legal policy. And then there's the matter of politics, legal policy and politics. Right now, we're still in the matter of law. As for the law, we have talked about the Constitution, which is the country's largest legal framework. Today, we're talking about law again, but it is a law that is a continuation of constitutional law. It is still the master law. The law we are going to talk about today is a very important law in educational law. It is the National Education Act. The National Education Act is a law that comes from the Constitution. It is the Constitution of the Kingdom of Thailand, number 16, promulgated on the 11th of October 1997. It prescribes laws that relate to national education. It is very popular here that in the past there was no educational laws at all, and therefore a very important source is Section 81 of the 16th Thai Constitution, announced on the 11th of October 1997. This is information that you all should remember in order to use it in exams or when teaching or saying anything. The most important point is that there are 2 parts to this story. The first part is to have laws regarding national education. Another thing that continues here is it is stated that this law is to improve education in accordance with this important point, economic and social changes. Therefore, it is probably the origin or the consensus that the story is a matter of change, and ours is a change in the context of the world and society. Economic change is also a part of the changing world and social context. Therefore, it is important that there must be educational laws. Therefore, there is the origin of the National Education Act. There are 4 National Education Acts until now. Actually, it's a single version, but there have been improvements. The first version is the National Education Act of 1999. This was announced on the 19th of August 1999. But later, there was a second version, which is a revision of the first version, which was the 1999 edition. The second edition, revised in 2002, was announced on the 19th of December 2002. Issue 3 has another correction. I'll let you know how to fix it. The third time this was revised in 2010 and announced on the 22nd of July 2010. And the last time it was announced that there was another amendment was in 2019, announced on the 1st of May 2019. The reason from the improvement that comes from each time is different. The first time was edited because the name of the ministry was changed. That was during the enactment of the National Education Act. Until the announcement was made, that period was the period in which the name of the ministry would be changed. That is, go and change the structure of the ministry. The ministry was named and was in operation at the time. The name of the ministry was the Ministry of Religion, Education and Culture. The Ministry of Education, Religion and Culture, that is, combining the matters of studying religion and culture together. Therefore, in the contents provided in various laws, including the National Education Act, the abbreviation of which is the National Education Act, there will also be the name of the ministry, in addition to the name of the ministry. Religion and culture will also have content related to education. Both matters of education, religion and culture are in the regulations. Various categories and sections as well. When the new ministry was announced, there was no religion and culture. That is, there is a Ministry of Culture that integrates education there, but the original Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Education that will be re-established, will become a ministry with the same name as the Ministry of Education as before. Therefore, the text or words used in the National Education Act of 1999 must be revised, editing the text of the ministry's name and adjust the content of that section. Religious and cultural regulations were removed. This is one of the issues that were fixed, but other substances remained the same, only the name. Coming in 2010, This one has a story about educational areas, that is, the original since 1999, or two amendments in the second edition of 2002. The only thing that education has in the name of an education area is the word educational area. It means the educational institutions that are in the educational area. It is an educational institution at both primary and secondary levels. Simply put, they are in the same area, but now it's 2010 and there is a level of separation. Therefore, there was now an educational area for primary and secondary education. When there is a change here, the only part in the name of the district that has been amended, especially in the wording or words, indicates a school district. Therefore, the other contents remain the same, only the words themselves. Another time there was a revision was in the fourth edition. In 2019, there was a restructuring here. That is, the Office of Higher Education Commission was originally under the Ministry of Education. When the Office of the Higher Education Commission was separated, the Higher Education Commission was separated. Therefore, there was an adjustment of content in the part that was the part of higher education, which was removed because the ministry was separated. The ministry will proceed with the work of the Ministry of Higher Education. The Ministry of Higher Education will proceed with its own related work. However, the contents of this National Communications Act are really pulling out the Education Act. Therefore, the National Education Policy will talk about all levels, speaking at the dome level, but language that is related to technology under the Ministry of Education that also talks about higher education has been pulled out. Other matters related to higher education still remain in the National Education Act. This is the origin of the National Education Act and the matter of its improvement. The following information has been revised and updated. Therefore, if you look at the various messages in the National Education Act, there will be a symbol, but there will be a number with an asterisk to say when this text was revised and in what version. Therefore, if it is the current version at present, there will be hanging at the end, called a socket, states that this has been revised according to which version, when, and how. You should use the current version in your next study. Let's look at the content and details of each section, and then each category each section will start from. If you enter one category, you must first tell us what was posted and presented there. Only important sections, only the sections that teachers should know are related to teachers. It is important information that teachers should know and love and be able to put it into practice. Section 1. General provisions regarding the aims and principles. This important section is Section 8 regarding organizing education to adhere to the following principle. What principle is it based on? Number 1 is to provide lifelong education for the people. The important point here is that it is lifelong education, used only for students, not for the public. Linked to important points that we go back to since the Constitution stated that we should emphasize lifelong education. Lifelong education must be inclusive, including all groups and not just school-age learners. Age within the system, that is linked to education that has many different characteristics. Therefore, this present study has many forms. As we said, wherever you are, you can study. You can study whenever you want. Whatever you want to be able to study, you must be able to study. Therefore, people throughout their lives can learn at all times. And there are various learning channels, and this law is considered to be the modern content, and can be respected and practiced. Part 2, which is equally important, is the matter of letting society participate in education. The word society is a broad term, for society refers to an individual or a group of people, including those agencies that are in society and the community, to participate in education. And if you look at the laws that have been established since before, you will see that both government agencies and private sector agencies mean that they are all society who have the opportunity to participate in education. The word educational management is I'm free, but the meaning is that I can come and help anywhere. Will be an important force in the matter of being a lecturer, be a teacher, will help in the budget, the use of buildings, various things. That is, Having social agencies or people in society come in and help, maybe from helping workers to give up their brain power, helping with materials and equipment, helping with budgets, etc. And let society have a part to help take care of the provision of education as well. Simply put, it's good to be the owner or to be the host, or that personnel or people, even students themselves, who live in society, will have a part to help and monitor. In terms of educational management, here, in addition to being involved in the organizing education here, there will also be a part. Take care of the part that will be suggested. Importantly, there is a section that will help monitor, supervise, and evaluate. That is an important part, where education is not separated from society. Another part is the continuous development of the content and learning process. The important issue is now, there will be two parts to develop. What will be developed? Content. If we talk about content, it is content. Suppose that the things learned need to be learned these days, that talk about competency will also be part of the content. Simply put, whatever is learned will evolve in accordance with the context and change over time. Another part that must be developed is the matter of the learning process. You see, developing what you will learn, developing the process of learning, this is important. More importantly, it is not to develop continuously for a while and then stop, but to do it continuously. Therefore, doing it continuously shows that there is development. This is also connected to the matter of change. When there is a change in the context, it changes quickly or slowly. But when there is a change, the development of things that need to be learned or the learning process must be suitable for the context of the change, that is, it must be done continuously. Another continuous step is connected to the matter of lifelong life. In studying the life market, it is not adapted to the context appropriate to the group of people who will study. This will be an important substance and precept. Section 2 is related to the roles and duties, rights and duties of education. This involves matters of both the individual and the organization. The important section of this section is Section 10, concerning educational management technology. The Children's Act states that everyone must have equal rights and opportunities to receive basic education for at least 12 years. We have words that we are familiar with, and we have to be precise and remember and can answer. That is, the word compulsory education, basic education. These two words are related but not the same. Compulsory counsel and knowing that 9 years is compulsory means that Thai people must be educated. 9 years is compulsory. You can say that the law is compulsory. This means that if you do not do it, then it is against the law. That is, from the first grade of primary school until the third grade of secondary school. But basic education is education from primary 1 to secondary 6, or vocational certificate 3. This is considered basic education. Here, it must be defined that equal rights and opportunities mean that people are equal regardless of what gender they belong to, what personality group they belong to, what ethnic group they are, but if they are Thai, they must have the right to receive treatment. Basic education, 12 years already. It must be provided equally as well. The government must provide it thoroughly and with quality and without charging any expenses. And what is important here is the matter of having equal rights and opportunities in the matter of basic education for no less than 12 years. It is the duty of the state to provide it thoroughly. No matter what remote area you are in, it depends on the situation in this context. Therefore, even people who are disabled and those with chronic illnesses, such as being bedridden, must have equal opportunities to receive education. The government must find opportunities and relevant agencies must organize. From the symptoms of education, provide it according to the context, but it must not be organized as a business. It must be of quality as well, and it must be provided free of charge. This is a provision according to the Royal Education Act, which is consistent with the Constitution. This is the content of the important provisions. The next part is Category 3, and it is about the education system. As I have learned, there are 3 types of allocation. There are 3 types of education in one system. That is the education in the education system, outside the education system, informal education. Formal education, which many of us, all teachers, are in your educational institutions, is considered to be formal education. Come to study in an education institution. Non-formal education means that there is an agency that takes care of this. That is, it may be because there are no opportunities or unsuccessful opportunities in formal education. Or even if successful, I'll come to study here again, no matter what. There is education that we are familiar with, that is, non-formal education. This language is the language that students speak and can clearly understand when listening to it. They're not learning it in school, but are still learning it, meaning it is still basic education. But they do not study in the form of coming to study every day. There are methods of organizing the education that facilitate students to learn both by themselves and then meeting in groups or not. There is a process to support and transfer various things. This one has enough details that are conducive to students, which now is doing well and is about to be adjusted. As a matter of learning, various learning centers will be more extensive. Another very important section that is consistent with the section just passed is the matter of informal education. If we say that we study at our own pace, we can study at any time, anyone can study, we can study anywhere, we can study through different media, all of them. Whatever you are studying, it will be part of education, but in a form. It may be semi-formal or not, or it may be educational. It may be based on the nature of us watching various clips in various media that are either public or organized by an organization to give a specific group or can arrange general services. Therefore, it is considered to be the study of goodwill, which the government must take care of and see which are parts. It must be correct that the people should learn. This is the role of the state as a whole. At the same time, educational agencies or related agencies must also take care that this is beneficial and must be disseminated to the public. Therefore, learning, seeing, and having access to various learning resources is considered informal education. Of course, you can study at any time, and you can study for the rest of your life. If you want to continue studying with a lot of variety, it will be a matter of the system. In section 16, we said that there will be two levels of formal education. What we have already mentioned is that the basic education level is from grade 1 to grade 6, or vocational certificate 3 and higher education. Therefore, it is enough to continue with basic education. If you know that there will be A-levels, it actually has degree levels. It has pre-degree levels, tertiary degrees, such as what we are familiar with, vocational certificates, distributed higher vocational levels, or have other certificates, which are higher level of education than basic education. This is all considered to be higher level education. Of course, this is also an educational level. But regarding the education system, one can study now. It can be both at higher educational levels. There will be both formal and non-formal studies. In this matter, there are many avenues to study. Therefore, you are able to choose, or people can choose to study according to their needs and suit their own context. Next is the matter of further education system as well, but this is section 17, talking about compulsory education. I already mentioned 9 years. There will be 9 years of compulsory education, which is specified from the age of entering the 7th year, that is, meaning 6 years of age, entering the 7th year, until entering the 16th year. Year 16 will be 15 years complete. This part must be studied in compulsory education, or, if it happens that the student passes the prerequisite exam before reaching the age of 16, it is considered completed. But if you haven't finished here, you're still under the law. You will have to come and study in some other form, so it can be both the system and outside system. Nowadays, when it comes to informal education, there is another system that may not be mentioned in the law, but there is another form of education called home education or homeschool. At home or homeschool, there are many parents with whom you can take care of your children. You don't have to take it into your own education, both in the formal and non-formal education system at home. This will be a form of education that allows for flexibility and diversity. Therefore, if counted according to age, That is, the law stipulates that entering the 7th year until entering the 16th year must be subject to the law, that is, education. But if there is a case where it is necessary to not be able to study, there will be a way to help in applying without having to approach compulsory communication. For example, having a disability and therefore being unable to study, but other parts can be taken care of and must be enforced in this study. It may be inconvenient for one, or perhaps one is not ready to do it. It may be that there will be concessions, but whatever. When there are people who are 16 years old but still want to study in basic education or education that still needs to be studied, one can still come into the educational process. Non-formal education is also used in this part, which is conducive to education. Another part is Section 4, regarding educational management guidelines. This is the content of the law. The key word is to take the learner as the main focus, and it is written that education must be based on the principle that every learner can learn and develop himself. That means that if the learner is the focus, how many potential learners can learn? The meaning must be organized like this. That is, everyone can learn and develop themselves and consider students as the most important. Therefore, managers of the educational management process of agencies that will be involved in organizing education from government agencies at the ministry level down must encourage learners to be able to develop themselves, naturally to their fullest potential. This is a rule specified in the law. Next is a matter of organizing education as before, but it is a matter of faculty that will participate in the education management. That is, there is a Basic Education Commission. What are your duties? There is a specified core curriculum for basic education. That, teachers, simply put, is the body of agencies that is the basic educational level structure. It is considered to be the highest agency of basic education that is under the ministry. Simply put, basic education will have agencies. But this agency will be administered in the form of the committee called the Basic Education Commission. I will take care of the curriculum. Regarding educational management at the basic education level, there will be one important witness, which is that there is a core curriculum, or we'll link it to another level of the curriculum, that is, level and level at the education institutional level, which will have further provisions. Section 27 says that there is already a core curriculum for basic education. As for the educational institution, it will have duties according to the principles of the education institution's curriculum. Therefore, the curriculum of the educational institution uses the core curriculum as the main basis and must be adjusted to suit the problems, community conditions, social conditions, and local wisdom. Able to add desirable characteristics in the desired characteristics specified in the core system. The specified 8 characteristics are those that educational institutions can add to suit the context of the educational institution, local context. The social context of which localities require special characteristics or additional animals that to set up for students to happen. It is carried out so that students become good members of their families, society, and the nation, with all the above. It is a matter of the provisions of the National Education Act, starting with the matter of why there is a National Education Act, and starting in 1999, and it has been changed 3 times, and there are important provisions, starting from the general section on how education must be arranged, emphasizing the provision of lifelong education. For everybody's level, education involves the participation of communities and local agencies, and this education must be continuously developed. Therefore, there will be the issue of educational management related to individuals and related to organizations related to characteristics such as preschool education, basic education, and tertiary education. And then we end up with the organization that is the structure that takes care of basic education, which is the Basic Volunteer Committee. As for this clip, we'll end this part right here. We'll continue in the next part. That is the relevant mode. For this video, goodbye.